are listening to Dare to Transform, where we find the vision, dedication, and motivation behind inspiring stories of transformation. This is episode number 5, Dare to Rebel. I'm your host, Angela Harris, founder of Work Apart, here with my co-host, Meriem Dibaj, bringing you an I Transform production.
Our guest today is Gillian Jackson, art director and content creator and co-founder of Se02 Creative.
With more than 18 years in the advertising and marketing industry under her belt, Jill has gained a multitude of experience and the respect of both clients and colleagues alike. Her award-winning art direction and concept creation have played a major role in helping solidify long-standing relationships with both local and national accounts. Having experienced both sides of the agency world, she understands the importance of becoming a trusted partner to whomever she works with. Se02 Creative is a small, yet mighty group of marketing experts with a growing reputation for getting shit done. They love helping brands tackle any project and tell their unique story. Welcome, Gillian.
Thanks, Angela.
So we would love if you would share a bit of an introduction of yourself. Tell us a bit about who you are, what you do today, how you got started, just so that the audience has a better idea of what you're about.
All right. Jill Jackson.
Yep.
Co-owner and co-founder of Se02 Creative.
Mm-hmm.
And I work with 2 other ladies, and we have we don't call it a marketing agency. We're just a creative team of people who work together, and we do marketing and advertising.
Awesome. Yes, we were going back and forth about, I was like, what do I call you guys? Do I say company? Do I say brand, business, agency? What's the right word?
Yeah, I think we call ourselves a creative team.
Yeah, and this is exactly why we wanted to have you here, is because you do things very different. So.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Okay, so one of my favorite things about your creative team / business / company is the name.
Okay.
So share with us how you came up with the name Se02 Creative.
Okay. Well, as we were talking before, we're a group of people. It's hard to come up with a name that we all love,
especially when you're all like incredibly creative
and all incredibly opinionated.
Yes.
In a good way.
Yes.
So we were trying to come up with a name that meant something to each of us, but that kind of, when you come up with a name, you want it to just kind of come to you and be like, yes, that's the name. Mm-hmm. So for months, we would come to my house and we would have cue cards on the table, and we would have all of these names, and we would put dots on the ones we loved, and then at the end of it was like, well, nobody loves any of the same names. So one day I get a lot of ideas when I'm like in the shower, and
me too.
You're not thinking about anything else. And
so
I've always loved the band name Hey Ocean.
Okay.
I just like that, like it's like an action, like it's a hey, like something.
Yeah.
And what we're doing is like a hey, let's do something kind of thing.
Right.
And then I thought back of like, my interactions with people as I'm growing up and learning and doing things and being myself. And a lot of people, when they see me coming, they go, hey, trouble, what's going on? What are you up to now?
Yeah.
Like they're keeping an eye on me.
Right.
But they're also a little bit interested in what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And funny enough, that also happens to Liz and Lori.
Okay.
And it did happen to them, like all kind of, because we're probably a little bit more outspoken maybe than some other people might be. So I guess that's where it stemmed from. But trouble is not really the right word for a business.
Right.
But rebel is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because when you're a rebel, you rally people together for a cause. Mm-hmm. And the cause could be simple as promoting your business or just doing the right thing. So we saw ourselves in the rebel sense as people who could help other people. We would champion for other people. We would push the boundaries for other people. And so I messaged the girls and said, Se02 Creative. And they were like, yes, we love it.
Yeah.
And so I registered it and we did it and it was awesome and we all loved it right from the get-go. So it sort of like it clicked and it fell into place and that was our name.
Amazing.
Nice.
And of course, you have incredible branding as well.
Oh, thank you.
The audience can't see the shirt you're wearing, but I'm a fan. I'm a fan.
I think you have one, don't you?
I do have one, yes, with the pink lightning bolts.
Mhm,
Love it. So just taking a few steps back, or maybe like 20, 30 years steps back, how did you decide to get into design? Like, what was your journey there? I'm curious.
Well, I finished art school.
Mm-hmm.
I have a fine arts degree.
Yep.
From NASCAD.
Mm-hmm.
And then I moved out west and had all of the ideals that an art student has. Like, I don't need to get a job. I'm going to have an art studio and make all of the money. So I had a pottery studio in Vancouver Island.
Oh, I did not know this about you.
I did.
Yeah.
I have a major in ceramics from NASCAD.
Cool.
Nice.
So I had a pottery studio, which was fun. I loved it, but it's really hard to make money.
Mm-hmm.
But what I loved a lot about it was doing the marketing for it.
Ah.
And so when I moved back home to Moncton, I decided to take graphic design.
Okay. Very cool.
So then took graphic design, and then the rest kind of
The rest,
here.
as they say, is history.
Yeah.
There you go.
So tell us more about why did you need to create this Hairable creative with the team? Like what enabled this agency company? I know that you don't like calling it a company or agency with a better title,
Yeah.
but how has this team came together and created this offering?
We worked together in our previous lives. For Lori and I for 8 years, and Liz and I for about 5 years. And then we found ourselves in a position where we didn't have jobs anymore.
I love how you were like
Yes.
trying to like skirt that, and then you're like, and we're unemployed.
And all of a sudden we're unemployed.
And laid off.
And laid off. We all got laid off.
Yes.
And it was a shock.
Okay.
And none of us really thought that was ever going to happen. So I came home and, I got laid off today. And what the hell am I going to do?
Yeah.
And my husband, who was an entrepreneur, said, it's going to be fine. I said, I don't even have a laptop. He's like, I'll get you a laptop. Okay.
Yeah.
They're
Got
really
it.
expensive.
Yeah.
And so he said, there's no reason why you guys can't do this. He said, who did they lay off? And I told him who they laid off. And so he was like, you can do that. But I'm not a risk taker. I'm not someone who would just have done this on my own. Then Liz came over because, when you're find yourself in this situation, you have to band together. So we sat in my TV room and kind of stared at each other and went, what the fuck are we going to do? You can edit that out if you need to.
No, not at all. Sometimes those things need to be said.
Yeah.
Exactly like that.
And we said, well, who did they lay off? They laid off an agency. Let's start an agency.
Yep.
Yes.
And so we were like, well, maybe. I don't know. We could. I don't know. Well, let's talk about it. So we met the next day at Cranewood in Sackville. We all sat around a table and we said, why? Let's just do this. We can do this. And some people were like, yeah, maybe I might look for a job. I don't know. And we said, you know what? If you look for a job and you find a job, then it was meant to be. And we'll keep going and we'll figure something else out. And then I got a phone call from a friend, and he was like, I want you to work for me. Like, I don't want to stop working together. And then more phone calls started to come in and go, I heard you're not working anymore. Can you do this project for me? And so I negotiated in my severance a laptop.
Nice.
That was the important
There you go.
piece.
Yeah.
I was like, I just need a laptop. So
it all stems all around. Yeah.
Then it all kind of started. And so we just started to get people calling us and calling us on projects that needed a writer and needed an art director and needed production. And so we thought, well, we can do this.
So before we go on your journey in the business, I just want, because we have been discussing this before starting the recording, and I want people to hear this from you. So why you didn't, like everyone else on that group, or most of them, look for another job, look for that security that the job is bringing you, and you were shocked of being laid off. So why not go back to the job offered by other companies? And I know that you have the experience that it wouldn't have been a problem for you to find that job.
No, I don't think it would have been a problem, but at the same time that there's security in a job, there's insecurity in a job. Mm-hmm. I didn't have control over ending my career on that day. But if we started our own thing, then all of a sudden, if we all of a sudden don't want to do this, that's because I decided.
Right.
Yes.
And, I'm not 20 years old, so I'm thinking, okay, I was 43 at the time. I was 42 at the time, and I'm going to work in another office for 10 years, then they're going to lay me off, and I'll be 52, and then what? So we just kind of thought, let's do this for ourselves. We have this opportunity now. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Yes. And
nobody's lost anything.
Nice.
And I think it's, it's interesting when you start to dive into it. And we were talking about this, before we hit record, but we were talking about, the entrepreneurial dream, right? And, how a lot of people they're looking at it and they're like, oh, that looks, it looks amazing, like freedom and, this and that, and like all these like magical things, right? And I think, for some people, they're like, they would never do it. They're just like, they're just talking about it, looking at it or whatever. But then there's the other people that are like, what if I don't do it? Like, you know what I mean? It's like, it's that like, kind of you're being pulled towards it and you're like something wants to do it. But, and we were talking earlier, like neither Gillian or I feel like we're, those big risk takers, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But, I think when you're feeling that pull and you feel like you're supposed to do something and you're feeling like you should try, and then other people start to validate that,
Yes.
and they're like, oh, we need to hire you for this, or we need your expertise in this. We need that. And it's almost like, it's not like, all of a sudden you have, all your clients lined up for the year, but all of a sudden you're like, it's more than just an idea. It starts to become real, right? And you're like, okay, maybe this could work. Like, okay, let me just dip my toe in. And then, like Gillian and I are both saying, like, then it's like, okay, if this doesn't work, we'll do something else. And I've had that, there's been times where, we were talking about this, being an entrepreneur is really hard. It's not, it's not all roses and
write-offs,
and write-offs and right, but there's all kinds of amazing things to it. But a few times along the way when I've been struggling and I'm like, am I supposed to be doing this? Like, am I supposed to just go get a job? I've had a few amazing people around me go, well you could, worst case scenario, you could go get a job. And then it's almost like, oh right, yes, if this doesn't work, I can still go get a job. So, and I think it's like, again, once you've been around for a little while, and each of us have like 20 years corporate, I don't know, you have this confidence, right? I'm like, I'll get a job, I'll get something if I needed to, had to, wanted to. So.
But both of you shared the same point, that you felt ready. It's not just you wake up a day or like you graduate from school and you decide, I have this fantastic idea. Some can succeed at it, but that's not the normal. But also, both when you were talking, you shared about the support system you had. You had your husband, clients, friends who were calling you. So you felt that everything is enabling you to start that journey. It's not just, you are not on your own. Yes, you are on your own in taking decisions, in like deciding on where to start, how to do it, and what to do and what not to do. But you are still not alone because of the ecosystem around you and the supporting people and ideas that you have.
Yeah, because I always thought when if I did this on my own, because I'm a people person, I get energy from people. So I thought, I can't sit at my house and do this, but never once have I ever felt alone. I'm dealing with clients all the time. I'm dealing with, my business partners all the time. I meet new people like Angela. And so you create a network of people that you're constantly talking to, bouncing ideas off of, even bigger ideas than you could if you're at one single company, because Angela brings like a lot of different things that I never considered in when I was in my career. So
I'm like, what are those things?
I'll
Please
tell
me
you later.
Thank you, I think.
I'll make a list. So I never felt alone. I don't feel lonely. I never feel like, I have to make that decision all on my own. But even if I did, I feel like I have enough experience that I have the confidence to make a decision if I need to. But I have, my business partners who I trust in. I was going to say a word and then I didn't know how to say it.
Implicitly?
Implicitly?
Ooh, good word. But yeah, and I think, one of the things that I wanted us to dive into today was that, the whole corporate world and, and how we, the lessons that we learned along the way. And, when we were saying earlier, it's not all negative, right? And in fact, we needed that corporate experience to grow into, the leaders and, the experts that we are today. So, when you look back at it, and we were saying, so, Gillian and I each spent 20 years in the corporate world. Miriam's at 8 years now. And it's hard, I think it's good to look back to see, the lessons. But what are the big things that stand out for you when you think about your corporate career?
You have to work your ass off and speak up for yourself.
Yeah.
I think those things, because it's easy to get pushed aside because there's other people who are going to do it. You know what I mean? And there's always people who are coming in under you who are willing to, take more shit than I would be willing to take.
Right.
But, and taking the opportunities, because I worked in the 2 places that I worked offered me opportunities that, weren't necessarily in my wheelhouse of things to do, but I just did it to get the experience. And if you don't take those risks and you don't try to learn those new things, then you're going to become obsolete. Yeah. So I made sure that I was always learning new things, always keeping up on the trends, because marketing is changing all the time. Yeah. So I always made sure I was keeping up with things. If someone said, hey, you want to go and do this? Maybe I've never done it, but yeah, I want to. So always keeping on top of things.
Well, and I think too, having that, having that it's a security, right? Yeah. Like, because you can try new things, you have the opportunity, like you're collecting a paycheck to, to be a leader, but also to grow and to develop and to, as we said, try new things and try things out. And hopefully you're working for a company that you're not going to get fired if you fail.
Yes.
Hopefully. But I think that's the key, and, maximizing those opportunities. I think if you're complacent in your career and you're just like, okay, it's fine here. It's kind of, I don't really love my job. It's kind of boring. And you're not like looking for those next things. That's sad.
Yeah. Also, you can't be afraid to sit in a room with people who are way smarter than you. And if you're in a room where you're the smartest person in the room, you probably should move on to somewhere else.
Right.
Exact.
And you can't go in thinking that you know everything. Yeah. Because you never do. And if you do that, you're never going to learn from someone else.
Right.
So I always made myself open. Maybe not in the beginning, because it takes a while to learn that.
Yeah, and to have the confidence.
And to have the confidence to admit that, you know what, that's not my strength, but it's your strength. So I'm going to study you, and I'm going to, you know, learn from everybody. So doing that in a corporate environment is invaluable.
I will say, I'm going to challenge you because that's what I do. I will say, though, that as a female, it's not always, you know, it's not always as like cut and dry and simple. And I agree, you should be in rooms with like people that are smarter than you and people, you know, but I think that, you know, as a female going into some of those situations and like being in the boardroom, you know, it's like, it felt like, I'm not going to speak for every woman. I'm not going to speak for every situation, but it feels like, you know, you have to try 10 times harder to like have that equal voice and to be taken seriously and to be taken as smart as so-and-so. And I will say, it took me, I remember, you know, in when I was starting with my last company, and like, you know, saying things and being like, oh shit, like am I gonna get in trouble right now? Like I'm being like, I'm saying things that are like, you know, years prior I might have just thought them, right? And then I just like, as I would say more things and speak up and be like, actually I disagree with you, or actually I think this, you know, then I'd get others around me, male and female, that, you know, later would be like, Angela, thank you for saying that. Thank you. And then the more that happened, I was like, it's almost like they're pouring fuel on the fire, right? I'm like, oh, wow.
Oh, and another thing.
Oh, I've got more where that came from, right? But like, joking aside, I think the more that you know, you take those risks to like speak up and to, you know, use your voice, the stronger that you get.
Because inevitably, if you say something in your head in a meeting and don't say it out loud, 10 minutes later, someone else is going to say it, and everyone's going to go, oh, that's so smart. You're so smart.
Right?
And you're sitting there going, damn it, I said that in my head 10 minutes ago.
And this is if it's a good thing, but if it's like something negative, you become the troublemaker, right? This is when you get this etiquette of, you are the troublemaker. And I can tell you, Angela, that it is still happening today.
Oh, I know.
It's still, and I don't have 20 years of experience. But I learned, when I first started, it was like unbelievable how the anger it will bring in me. But now I laugh, because I used to always expect that people will give you the same respect as to people will just give respect to everyone in a boardroom. But I learned that no, and as a female you have to earn the respect. And until today I go into meetings where people don't look at you. People don't expect you to be the speaking person
or the smartest.
I'm not going to say that, but sometimes yes. But when you start speaking, you see how the behavior changes, and now I laugh. It's just satisfying, because I always, like, every time I go into a new team meeting or something, I just smile, because I know how it's going to happen, and you earn the respect. And now I try to look at the positive side. I'm still able to earn the respect of people. So this is the most important. But sometimes it's frustrating. And like you were saying earlier, it's like having the ability to speak up, I think, is what makes you the entrepreneurs you are today, because you are developing leadership while you are speaking up when no one else around you is doing the same. And at the beginning it's hard. Why is it always me? Why? And especially when you leave the room and you have other people coming to you, thank you for saying that. Well, yes, but why did you wait for me?
Right.
Why is it always me who needs to speak up? But after that, this is what makes the difference between leaders and not. And this is when you start seeing that this is a future true leader, this is a future entrepreneur. And every time we hear the same stories of female entrepreneur or female employees like myself and others that have a lot to bring to the table, but you are female, so you need to put more effort, and you need to prove it. Like, every day you have to prove yourself and prove that you have something to
and I think it's just like, you know what, it's learning the game, right? Because I think you get to a certain point where, you know, you don't get as frustrated, or you don't care as much, right? Like, I mean, I don't mean that you don't care about the situation, but you don't let it bother you. And you know, you can think, think inside your head what you think of
Exactly.
of the situation unfolding. I'm trying to be nice, but it is No Filter Friday.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I think you just you learn and grow, and then, and then along the way too, and I still find this now, you learn when, if you really want to kind of lay the law down, or you really want to use your voice, and you really want to have the smackdown.
Exactly.
You figure out how to do that and how to use your voice so that you're respected and so that you're heard. Thank
Exactly.
you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, but it takes time. It takes practice, and it takes,
And I think it takes also confidence, because at the beginning you are always frustrated with that, because when you go home you feel like maybe I'm not that good.
Yeah.
Maybe I am not the smartest person I was thinking I am. But when you get to the point when you laugh, you know what is happening, and you just laugh and enjoy it, and you every time you tell yourself, look, watch what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I think you gain more confidence because you know what is your value, and you respect yourself enough to say that, no, I'm not letting anyone put me down. I am not letting anyone disrespect me. You owe me respect, and I'm gonna prove to you that you owe me respect while respecting you. So you earn that respect by your value, and now I look at it personally as it's more valuable, because it's not like anything else, it's just given. No, I worked for it, I earned it, and I feel way more valuable that way, because I changed your mind. I pushed you to respect me and to listen to me and ask for my advice and my input. So that's a win. And young women are always struggling with this. I think I went through that, and I'm now seeing other women going through that and speaking up and saying no to things, and saying that this is not what I want for myself, and I know what I want for myself. This is not part of it, so you're not going to make me accept that. So
I think working for myself has taught me just what you were saying, that I am more valuable than I thought I was.
Yes.
You're made to believe that, this is where your role is, and you don't step outside too much, because you're probably, maybe you won't do a very good job. But when you're taken out of that situation and all of a sudden it's just you, and people start phoning, and they're supporting, and you're doing presentations, and they're going, wow, that was amazing. It gives you the confidence, and it gave me a big realization that, wow, I think I'm smarter than I thought I was. Not that I am,
better than you thought you were at your job,
better
right?
than I thought I was at my job. So going out on my own, that's one thing. That was a giant realization for us.
Wow.
We would leave meetings, me and my business partners, and we would go, wow.
You're like, we nailed it. How did we do that?
Nailed it.
Amazing
how is
feeling.
this the first time this has happened?
Right?
What a feeling. That's the best feeling, as a business person, that you can feel. So in your business is 1 year and a half old, right?
Yeah,
now?
a year and a half.
So what did you learn in this year and a half that you didn't even think about during your 20 years of corporate experience?
Good question, Meriem.
That is a good question.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Yeah.
What have I learned the most? I think running a business is about managing people as much as it is putting out a product. I just did air quotes.
Yes.
I know this is audio.
I do the same thing.
Yeah. Is that sort of what
absolutely, and or maybe also about yourself, because you're discovering your new you.
Yeah, right.
Also
that I guess what I've learned about myself is that I can get a lot of shit done that I didn't think I could get done.
Yeah.
And that you have to work with people that you trust.
Absolutely.
And we can't be afraid to say what we're thinking, because that's how your opinions get squashed and not heard. And you can't sit there and regret not saying something. Because things need to move forward.
Exactly.
So if they're moving forward without your input, then that's kind of your own problem. But I think just working together with Liz and Lori has taught me that, you know, you need people around you that you can trust. And
True.
we trust one another.
Absolutely. Great.
So, you know, and I was going to ask you this too, Meriem. So, you know, when you look back, you know, what piece of advice, and this is for both of you.
Okay.
Miriam's like, oh God, what's she going to ask? But like, what piece of advice would you give to your younger self? So like, because I know, you know what, it's easy for me to go, like, I mentor a lot of younger women, people starting off in their careers. So I'll, you know, I'm like, okay, this is it, right? But then when I start to think like, what would I have told, you know, what would I have told Ange 20 years ago? It's very different, right? Like, so I'm curious, like, what, you know, what would you tell your younger self? Gillian, we'll start with you.
Set boundaries. I was a person who always wanted to please everybody.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that cost me a lot.
We're all
of
doing
stress
like
and
hair,
anxiety.
like champion,
Yeah.
arms.
So set boundaries and don't be afraid to enforce those boundaries.
Yeah.
That's a tough one when everyone's, you know, going, you need to work this weekend. I
Exactly.
need this from you. You need to do that. You know, it's so.
You know what? And I just want to, you know, add to that because I thought that I've got my air finger out.
I see that.
I thought that my boundaries were not strong enough only in the corporate world. And I thought that like a lot of the stress that I had and a lot of the burnout that I ended up going through was because of like lack of boundaries and all these like demands on my time and my energy and all this stress and whatever. And I'm like I'm going into year 3, I think, of being an entrepreneur. And I've burnt myself out twice.
Wow.
So,
Is this exclusive to our podcast?
yeah, you guys have not done, this is not from you. But the interesting thing here is that what that allowed me to do, and I do think of it as a positive, it helped me realize that the boundaries and the problem with having no boundaries was actually me, right?
Yes.
It wasn't, you know, it wasn't the company, it wasn't, you know, it wasn't customers or people that I worked with, it was me, right? And so I think that is an important one to remember. And, you know, we were talking earlier about, you know, like having work hours and shutting things down at a certain time. And like, I have an ongoing struggle with this because I love working and I love doing things.
I think both of you, you are also very social people. Like you love being around people. So when you love being around people, for you, giving and like helping and supporting, it's just it's part of who you are. So when you come to the point of boundaries, it becomes something. It's weird for social people, for very extrovert people.
Doing something for someone else gives me the positive reinforcement that I need.
Exactly.
So for me to have to say, no, I can't do that for you, or no, that's not included in the price.
Right.
Is me having to confront someone in a negative way, and potentially for them to be negative back. But what I've learned is that if people accept those things, you know, you're going to always have some people who have negative reactions, but in general, you go, oh, well, okay, that I was easier than I thought it was going to be, and I feel better.
Yeah,
exact.
Okay, so Miriam's like, don't ask, maybe she'll forget.
Yes, I was literally thinking about that, Angela.
My mind reading. Yeah.
So I will say the same thing, like about the boundaries, but I will add one thing is don't be afraid of speaking up your mind, because I have been in Canada for 6 years, and everyone who I met here will be surprised if they met me 8 years ago. I'm not the same person. When I came here, I came with the objective of, okay, I'm starting from scratch. Yes, I came for MBA and all that, but I had personal objectives like as priorities more than anything else. So I will tell the younger Meriem to don't be afraid of speak up, and every time you need to do it, do it. Don't think twice, because you don't get that opportunity twice. And if it's not said in the right time, it's not valuable anymore.
Yeah,
exactly.
So
Yeah.
speak up your opinion and what you think. You won't be always right, but you won't know that you are wrong until you speak up.
Yeah.
Right.
And be okay with being wrong
Yeah.
when you speak up. So be
Yeah.
vulnerable and speak up. That's one important learning from me. Yeah.
I love that.
Mhm.
I love that.
That's good.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. One last question, Gillian. What is next for Hey Rebel? What's the vision? What's the
What?
big dream?
You know what? We all love what we're doing. We
Mhm.
would love to keep doing this.
Okay.
And we would love to all be able to support ourselves doing this. And so I guess what we're working on is just doing that.
Yeah.
We're working on a little bit more self-promotion right now,
Mhm.
which is a little bit hard during, COVID time.
No, I disagree. It's not
you?
hard. I do. Yeah.
Well, we're promoting.
This could be a whole other
It
episode,
could
though.
be,
Yes.
yeah, it could be.
Exactly.
A COVID
special
sales and
COVID-19.
marketing
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we've had to shift the way that
That's
we
fair.
do things. So
Well,
we're
you guys
working
have
on
done
that
an
now.
amazing job
Thank you.
doing your marketing over COVID.
Yeah.
I
Well,
will
thanks.
say.
It's important not to stop,
Mm-hmm.
because if you go silent and don't have an opinion,
Right.
then what value are you adding?
Right.
So we've, whether your opinion is not about your business, because, we sort of stepped back talking about our business and just talked about support
Yeah.
and, what we're doing and things like that. So we just had to have shifted our focus. And so we're now starting to shift our focus back to business type things.
Yeah.
But we would just love to keep doing this and more
Yeah.
of it.
Amazing. Well, thank you for coming today,
Thank
and
you for
thank you
having me.
for the amazing chat. I think
Yes.
we could probably talk for hours.
Yeah.
Exact. We would love to have you again here.
Yeah, this was
Awesome.
fun.
Thank you so much, Gillian, for joining us today and sharing your story. I'm Angela Harris,
And I'm Meriem Dibaj.
and this has been episode number 5 of Dare to Transform, an I Transform podcast in collaboration with Work of Heart.
Have an amazing day.
We hope you dare to transform.